Alrighty, great to see you guys again. I hope you had a great summer break. Got a little change of rhythm, and hopefully you're ready to go for the season like we are. But good to be back underway and get back with teammates and get working again and start playing football. So we're excited about it. Take any questions you have.
Hey Kirk, Kevin kind of lauded how much even more command you had of the playbook from when spring drills ended, from when training camp started. Maybe take us through your what you did during that period off, and how much studying of the playbook did you do, and what else did you do?
Yeah, it's a process. It's April 15th-ish when we started. You can't snap your fingers and learn the system. You have to just keep stacking days on top of each other. So even since we got here Sunday night, I've noticed improvement in the last few days just by being in it so much. And so got a lot of foundation built over the 9 weeks this spring. And then, the summer stayed really busy, just a lot of body work, a lot of throwing, going over the plays, trying to get used to saying them. Even the plays you may know, but just the terminology we use is now different. So getting used to it rolling off your tongue, something that simple takes time to get to. So still in that process, certainly, but further along, and we'll just keep stacking days up.
Well, Kirk, you kind of had to do that ever since you got to Minnesota, right? So that's kind of become rote for you, right?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to not only be with great coaches through my career, but systems have stayed generally similar. The challenge has been with new people. So you have new people in those seats, in those positions, so there's always differences. This year would probably be one of the larger years when it comes to actually having a major change in the terminology and in the actual playbook. Probably a bigger change than any other year, except for maybe the year I moved from Washington here to Minnesota.
Kevin OConnell alluded to maybe trying to tweak some of the timing issues when he was talking about the Andrew Booth interception. Is that still a difference between the two offenses? Sorry, the Andrew Booth interception near the beginning of team drills. You said it might have been a timing issue. Is that like one of those tweaks you have to still figure out as you switch offenses?
No, I think that one was just put the ball out further to the sideline, or just say no to it and progress. You still have those plays that you make mistakes and you got to learn from.
Kirk, there's newness from the offense, obviously, but you have a lot of familiarity with your skill position guys. Like, just how do you feel going in with Justin, Adam, and Dalvin, guys that have been around? You've been around now for multiple years here, and having that comfort level.
Yeah, feel a great level of comfort with those three. We all, again, new system. There's a bit of a, hey, let's apply what we know and what we've done now to this scenario that might be slightly different. I also think training camp is so valuable to spend that time with KJ and Olabisi and Zach and Johnny. There's these players that you say that you're going to be counting on them, and you don't have the time on task quite the same way. And so you really want to take advantage of training camp to get to the comfort level you have with Dalvin, Adam, Justin, with many more players.
Insert yourself into the game plan part of it, Kirk, and is it different now than when you first come into the league or you're first a starter?
It's certainly different. I think the challenge right now is saying I got to learn the system before I start telling people what I want or like to do. I first need to learn. So you need to understand first, and so it's kind of been just absorbing it. And then I think when we get closer to week one or into the season is when you start to give that feedback more. But right now it's just trying to be coached and learn what you need to do.
There were some quotes in USA Today from Kwesi related to how he decided to go ahead and keep you. And I was wondering, if you, after talking to him, do you have any reason to doubt their commitment to you, short term and long term? And did you have any reaction to those quotes at all?
I haven't given it much thought, with training camp being so busy and consuming so much of our time. So I'm not too concerned about it.
When it comes to spending time with your new head coach and kind of getting in sync with the offense and all that, you did that in the past where you do some film session, just one-on-one. And what do you hope to get out of that time with him? What do you need to know more from him about?
I think it's not any one thing. I think it's an understanding of, I remember on a concept we had in OTAs in a practice, I said no to a route over here, threw a route over here, and afterwards he said, hey, I want you to take that with that look. Don't progress. And, you know, prior to him saying that, I would have progressed every time. So you say, okay. And then we probably ran that play a half dozen times again in the spring. When we got that look, I was going to take that option. So it's important to understand what he wants and not just play to, well, I've done this before, so I'll just do this again. It's more of a, well, how do you want it to look, and then let me execute that way. But that takes time to learn.
Kirk, in that situation, what was it about you going through your progression that differed from him saying, hey, I want you to take that?
I think it's somewhat philosophy of just, you know, you gain something here, you lose something there, and there's more than one way to do it. And so that was also when, you know, we brought in Gary and Clint and Rick Dennison. There was a level of, hey, I know you've done it this way with protections for a while. We're not going to do that. We're going to do it a different way. Both work, both have success, both have pluses, both have negatives, but the bottom line is you need to do it the way the coach wants it done. And I find that when you're coachable and you learn it the way they want it, that's when you have the most success, because they're really setting up the whole plan to build off of those coaching pieces.
Kirk was talking about, you know, just how the quarterback has to be an extension of the head coach. In your opinion, how important is that relationship between the quarterback and head coach on and off the field?
I think it's important. I think, you know, you want everybody is to be on the same page as much as possible. And certainly the head coach and quarterback falls under that umbrella, but I'd hate to have anybody not on the same page with the head coach or with one another in this building. It makes it harder to win.
You're a defensive coordinator too. Now you've kind of got a head coach who's also an offensive coordinator. Is that a lot different for you?
We're still pretty early to see if there's any difference, but I don't think it's too different at the end of the day. I think ultimately it's about the same fundamental pieces playing the position. You know, knowing your plays, knowing the defense, throwing with accuracy, making great decisions, being a great leader, communicating well. You know, there's a lot that when you're out there, you know, those variables aren't really impacting your ability to play the position at a high level.
From a physical standpoint, between mini camp and training camp, who did you throw to? Any current NFL players or anything? And then also, just on your workout regimen as you get a little older, 34 next month, what do you maybe do differently from that standpoint?
Yeah, I take more time to really focus on my body, recovery, you know, using different devices to help my body heal and be energized and ready to go. And throwing-wise, I've tended to, if I can't get an NFL player or a high-level college player, I tend to just tell targets to stay stationary so I can just throw to, whether it's high school kids or a extended family member, I just give them gloves and say, you know, you just stand right there, and I can get a lot of work in just to a stationary target. But I do feel like I spent even more time this year wanting to feel good and taking care of my body, and so far, a few days into camp, I think it's paid off.
Where'd you do that throwing? Michigan, Florida?
I just go to my hometown in Michigan where I grew up, yeah.
Your head coach isn't that much older than a lot of you guys and isn't that far removed from playing. Has that made it easier to kind of relate and to build a relationship with them?
I don't really think so. I've asked that question of myself because I was a younger player. We had Matt LaFleur was our quarterback coach, and Rex Grossman was the same age as Matt. We were in the room, and I haven't come from college where my quarterback coach is twice my age. It just felt odd to me that they'd be the same age, and I remember thinking, I wonder what that would be like if I play long enough to have a coach who's my age or a peer. And I believe Chris O'Hara is younger than me as my coach. And really, it isn't any different than when I was talking to Matt LaFleur 10 years ago, or even my college quarterback coach. At the end of the day, he's the coach. You want to do what you're being coached to do, and you know, the whole age thing doesn't really come into play.
Kirk, we were talking earlier about Justin's maturation. He's going to year 3, has a lot of success, but he says he's not fond of money. That's not his focus. Also, he wants to win a Super Bowl, but for him personally, he wants to be the best receiver in the league.
Yeah.
And he means it. What maturity have you seen in him for a guy that has success? Sometimes guys can coast on that in year 3.
Well, I think what I've always challenged him with is you don't have to do anything differently. You don't have to change. You don't have to take another step, if you will. The challenge will be to do it again and again and again. And I've said that here before. And if it was easy to do, more players would do it. You see a lot of people in this league go to a Pro Bowl, have some success, and then you ask the question, what happened to them? And so I've been challenging him to make sure that question is never asked about you, Justin. And I don't see any reason why it would, but that will always be the challenge, is to make sure that 10 years from now we're still talking about how Justin Jefferson is an unbelievable player in this league. And so that's what he's working towards.
Kirk, in terms of like philosophically being on the same page as Kevin, do you find that there's anything where you like remember things from when you worked together back in Washington, or have both of you like changed enough that that's not really present at all?
It's been a mixed bag. There's been moments where you say that's nothing like what we used to do. It's evolved greatly, and I have to unlearn things and learn new parts. There's other pieces where you say I haven't done that since I was back in Washington, and I remember being in the room when that was invented, if you will. So it's a mixed bag, and the key piece is that it's now the 2022 Vikings. I remember when 2019 started and Kevin was the offensive coordinator. Gary had come in to help. Rick Dennison had come in as the O-line coach, and the question was, what will this offense be? And the answer is just it was the 2019 Vikings offense. So it's hard to say more than that, and I'd say the same thing now, that as systems evolve and there's change and there's different backgrounds coming together, it just becomes the 2022 Vikings.
When it comes to those coaching points, not specific to Kevin, but like, do you run into that a fair amount when you've had these coaches told me to do it this one way, and then you're told to do it another way? It's sort of like deal with that little bit of push and pull a bit.
Yeah, that's the dialogue I have with Sean and with Kellen is when we're just at the end of the day meeting, you mention that hey, we do this, you gain this, you give up this, and let's talk about that. And then if we were to do it this way, you get these benefits, but you also have some drawbacks. And so there's more than one way to do it, and it's great for us as players to be exposed to different ways, because then you have a more a wider breadth of experience of how to coach and teach and play the game.
Earlier today, Kwesi used.
Thanks.